Hijab is a beautiful act of devotion from a Muslim woman to her creator. She doesn't do hijab for her husband, for government, for other people in society. She does it just for her creator. It's between her and the creator. Hi, I am a Muslim psychiatrist, Dr. Angie, and I want to discuss psychology behind hijab policing. Before I go any further, I'll say that hijab is a big part of any Muslim woman lifestyle and wardrobe. Every Muslim woman wear hijab, but not every Muslim woman choose to wear it all the time. Let's talk about the psychology behind hijab policing. Because let's be real, that hijab policing is not about being pious and creating pious societies. Hijab policing is all about control, power, and unhealed insecurity. As a psychiatrist and as a Muslim woman who have seen hijab being policed on a day-to-day life, I want to break it down in 4 categories. This won't be sugar-coated, but it will be real. So let's begin. So why people feel the urge to tell women how to dress? It is linked to 3 psychological patterns. 1, projection. They project their own guilt, fear, and insecurity or desires onto women, and they cannot deal with what inside, so they deal or handle what's outside. Control as a coping mechanism for anxiety management. So if someone sees a female body, it creates anxiety within them, it creates chaos within them, and they don't know how to handle their inner chaos and anxiety, so they try to control the woman's body to cope with their own anxiety. It makes them feel safe and they are just afraid of their own reactions. Religious ego. Policing women on how to dress gives them a false sense of superiority. It's also called moral licensing. If I tell others how to behave, I must be a better person. But that is not morality. That is the ego talking. Hijab becomes a badge, not of modesty, but of control. And those who are policing it are not protecting modesty, are not creating modest societies. What they are creating is fear and controlling their own anxiety and chaos. Internalized patriarchy. Now let's talk about women who police other women, because it's not only men. Many women enforce hijab because it gives them a superiority in a patriarchal system. If you play the good girl role, you get validation. You also get respect, protection, and security from society. And you are also seen as pure. And when that identity feels threatened because someone is not conforming to their idea of modesty, they lash out. This is called internalized oppression. A lot of you may not know that Islam stands against oppression. Also, Islam stands against forcing your religious beliefs onto others. As a Muslim woman and as a psychiatrist, I have seen how hijab is used as a test of someone's worth. Not just faith, but also your value, how much respect you need to get, and your entire identity. That is not religious, that is social programming, period. Islam has given a guide, and then it's up to us to follow. We all, as Muslims, as humans, are not perfect. Islam is more of a path, a journey, and a person can be anywhere in their path. You just don't know. Also, we tend to forget how important intention is in Islam. We have a saying in Urdu, and I'm going to say it in Urdu, "Har amal ka daromadar niyat par hai." So it all is based on your intention. You just don't know other people's intention. That's why you need to leave their personal act alone. It's between them and Allah. Also, modesty is a very wide range. Some people think covering your head is modesty. Some people think just covering your body and wearing loose clothes is modesty. Some people think you have to cover your face. Some people think you can't even share your voice. So it's not a straightforward answer. Modesty is a spectrum. And what Islam wanted is to create modest societies. Now let's talk about impact of forced modesty on a woman's health. As a psychologist, I am going to guarantee you this point. Forced modesty does not bring someone close to God. It does not make someone more spiritual. Actually, it does work the other way around. It can bring distance between a person and God. A lot of people leave Islam because of this force. No one wants to be forced to be doing something. If you are forced to do something, you do it just out of fear. And Islam or religion or faith is not practicing something out of fear. It is feeling something in your heart and then practicing it from your heart because you know how important that thing is. So what else forced modesty causes? It causes shame. It causes hypervigilance. A Muslim woman always have to look at her shoulder and see if she's being judged by the way she is wearing clothes, by the way she is choosing to dress. Islam understood this concept. There is no compulsion in religion. I am an addiction psychiatrist and I deal with patients suffering from addiction, and that is my motto. I always try to inspire them, guide them with providing full support, but I never force anything on them because I know it doesn't work. They have to be ready to give up that drug. True spirituality cannot exist without freedom. You cannot force faith. That's not how human mind works. You have seen ex-Muslims. So many people have left their faith. A big part of it is because they were forced to do things they were not ready to do. And now see how angry they are. You're not bringing people closer to faith if you are forcing it. What is true modesty and how can we create modest societies? Before Quran talks about a woman covering, it tells men very clearly to lower their gaze. Modesty isn't about a fabric on your head or a fabric on your face. It's about character, intention, humility. The men often you see yelling at a woman to cover her head are the same men who haven't even learned to lower their gaze first, or their arrogance.
Some of you are so obsessed with destigmatizing modesty and hijab that you intentionally ignore when modesty and hijab are used as tools of abuse, of oppression, of control. Understand that we are fighting back against the stereotype that Muslim women are oppressed, but we should not get so caught up in protecting the image of hijab that we neglect the women who actually are oppressed through hijab. Now, faith, religion, hijab, modesty, that itself is not the problem. The problem is when people take away the choice from women and force them into doing things that please them. And some of you are really arguing that, well, it's still net good because she's still following Islam. Like, it's still a good deed that you're forcing her into. But why are you so concerned with how a deed looks, like the act of a deed, rather than the intention behind the deed? Do you think that it is equal when someone feels a desire to get closer to Allah and chooses to pray more, to wear hijab more, to do this and that, versus someone who is forced to do all those things but doesn't have the intention of worshiping Allah? Do you think that those two deeds, even though it looks the same, are equal in the eyes of Allah? Do you think they are counted with the same weight? Because Allah judges us not just by our good deeds, but also the content of our hearts. He also judges us by our intentions. He also judges us by our character. So we shouldn't be so adamant on like making everyone look Muslim, perform Muslim, and excuse people being forced into practicing Islam a certain way because of the net good of them doing good deeds. I feel like sometimes people are so caught up in their own privilege that you really think hijab and modesty is a choice for all women, and it's simply not. And unfortunately, while Islam is perfect, men are not, and people are not, and hijab is one tool amongst many that can be used to oppress women.
Such a beautiful soul. She understands what hijab means and how it should never be forced.
I'm sorry, sister, I don't have a clear-cut answer to this question, but I know this. No doubt, the hijab is a great act of worship. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned it in the Quran, it was mentioned in the Sunnah, and it's a preservation of your identity as a Muslim. A Muslim woman should wear the hijab with pride, especially nowadays where our identity as a Muslim, as Muslims, is being lost and distorted, and everybody's running after haram, but nobody wants to do halal. Second thing, dear parents, stop forcing religion on your children without educating them and making them love and understand this beautiful religion. Islam was never forced on people. We don't want to create a generation of hypocrites where they do acts but they don't have the intention of doing these acts. As you know, acts of worship are but by intention, as the Prophet ﷺ said, make people want to practice Islam.
We need more intentional Muslims, not performative Muslims. I want to end this video with this message. If you ever feel the urge to tell a woman how to dress, please ask yourself this question first. Am I saying this out of fear or out of faith? Is this coming from God or from your own ego? You can support hijab as a beautiful act of devotion, but you can still stand against hijab policing. And I see so many young content creators who wear hijab are doing it, and I'm so proud of them. Because when someone chooses hijab, it's powerful. But when it's policed, it's not faith, it's just control. Hijab is a personal act of devotion. Policing it is a public act of domination. And if you want more unfiltered analysis on faith, psychology, and society, hit subscribe. I'll be calling all mental gymnastic one video at a time.